Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and my 13 nights of fright. From every day from now until Halloween, I will be uploading spooky little shorts on my channel. So if you would like to be notified when I upload them, please make sure that you are subscribed and the bell is wiggling or is on. Now, today's inspiration came from um, we've all heard of like haunted objects like Robert the Doll, Annabelle. They made a movie off of Annabelle. It's so widely spoke about. The Dybbuk box that is so widely spoke about, and they made a movie on it. We all heard stories, creepy tales about haunted mirrors and other haunted items that people have brought into their home. And it makes you wonder, can items really hold energy? Can they pass along evil curses? Well, because I did not, because I wanted to find something that is not widely spoken about right now in this day and age, I decided to go for the haunted object or the cursed ring of Rudolph Valentino. And that is what today's video is about. So if you would like to hear all the spooky little tragic things that happened to people around this ring, then grab a blanket, maybe grab your beverage of choice, sage your space, maybe light a candle, and let's get into today's story. So, our story starts with a young man named Rudolph Valentino. He was born and raised in Italy to a very loving mother and a very overbearing father. When he was of the young age of 15, he traveled across the sea to Ellis Island by himself and decided he wanted to start a new life in America. Now, when he got here, he had jobs, little odd jobs. He was a waiter and he was also a taxi dancer. Now, if you don't know what a taxi dancer is, I had to look it up. It is a person that dances with you for money. And they had this back in the 20s when the dance halls were really big and people would go out dancing. Some people wouldn't have partners, so they'd pay like 5 cents a song to Valentino and he'd dance with them. Well, being young, being handsome, being of Italian descent, um, a lot of older women found some interest in Valentino. He was like a Latin lover, is what he was described as, even though he was Italian and not Latin. But, anyways, so he he ended up getting in a relationship with this girl or with this woman Bianca de La Salle. And I don't know if I pronounced that right. There might be some names in here that I'm just going to butcher because they are spelled really weird and it's really hard to pronounce them. So, giving you that disclaimer right now. But she was married and cheating on her husband with Valentino. And as she was going through this divorce, she had Valentino on the stand to speak on her behalf. And after the proceedings of the divorce, she ended up shooting her husband. And because Valentino did not want all that baggage, he's a young man, what young man wants baggage, and because he had the dream of being on the silver screen, he moved out to Hollywood. There, he would star in his first role, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. He would star in the movie The Shriek, Blood and Sand, and The Cobra. Now, in between movies, he would often venture to places, take little breaks. One of those was San Francisco. And as he was window shopping in San Francisco, he saw this gold ring with a tiger's eye in it and said, I must have that. The ring was calling to him. It's like it had this magnetic pull on him, and he just had to have it. So he goes into the shop and he proceeds to buy it, or proceeds to tell the shop owner that he wants to buy it, and the shop owner warns him against it. He said, "This ring is jinxed." In his own words, "The ring is jinxed. You don't want it." But Valentino, either whether he believed in the jinx or whether he didn't believe in the jinx, he bought it anyway because this ring really called to him. So then he went back to Hollywood and he showed his friend Sean Mink his now Sean Mink was a psychic friend of his, and as soon as Sean Mink saw the ring on his finger, he got a vision across his eyes of Valentino lying dead, and he advised Valentino to get rid of the ring, but Valentino would not. He loved the ring. He went on to shoot a movie, The Young Raja, and this, out of all of his movies in the box office, was the one that would flop. It turned out to be a major flop. And if you're an A-list actor, it's very hard to have movies that flop. I mean, I'm sure some of them do, or some of them did, but that was when they were, just starting out in the business. He had already been established, and the movie flopped, or it tanked at the box office. So, he put the ring away. This is when I think he really started to truly believe in the curse of this ring. So he put it away. And then, I think it was a few movies later, or the next movie later, The Son of the Shriek was coming out, and he was asked to cast in it. And the ring would have went perfect with it. So he brought the ring out and put the ring on. Now, the first movie, The Shriek, was already a big success. So he probably, in his mind, he's thinking, okay, the first movie was a big success. The second movie is bound to be a big success. So he put the ring on, and then he went to New York to, I think it was the premiere. I think he was there for the premiere of the movie, The Son of the Shriek. I'm not entirely sure because I've seen different, in my research, I've seen different things said about that on why he was there. But from my understanding, he's there because of the premiere of The Son of the Shriek. And when he went back to the room in the Ambassador, he checked into the Ambassador Hotel. He went back to his room and he fell down and passed out. Staff found him, rushed him to the hospital. They did an operation on him and found out that he had 2 gastric ulcers. The doctors, sewed him up, gave him a clean bill of health, said that he was fine. But he died 1 week later due to an infection in his abdominal area. Now, some say it's pancreatitis. Other sources say he had an infection in his abdominal area. So I'm not too sure which one is true. I'm quoting them both just so that I don't, okay. So, after his death, like I said, he was a ladies' man. He had lots of girlfriends. But one girlfriend in particular, Paulo Nija, she claimed to be his fiancée. And she actually came to New York, got his body, and took his body back to Hollywood by rail. There was 100,000 people at his, or not 100,000, 100 people, or yeah, maybe 100,000 people at his funeral outside of the funeral gate. She ended up obtaining, Paulo Niagara ended up obtaining the ring, and as soon as she got the ring, she became deathly ill, violently ill. She did overcome it, but it took her a while to overcome it. And then she ended up falling in love with a Georgian prince named, I'll look up his name real quick. I keep forgetting, Sergei Medinov. Medinov? Like I said, I'm going to butcher these names. But she ended up marrying him. I think it was like 6 months after the death of Valentino. She ended up marrying him. And she would go on to get pregnant, then only to miscarry, then to have her marriage tragically end. It just ended. Like, he just was not putting up with it, I guess. I mean, if you lost your love of your life, and then you lost your baby, and then, you know what I mean? So, yeah. So that's what happened. And then she ended up bouncing back like most times she does. She's had a lot of relationships, but she ended up bouncing back and ended up getting with this singer at the time named Russ Columbo. Now Russ Columbo had a lot of hits. He was a very popular singer back in the day. I don't remember what the hits were, but he was a rising star. And he looked exactly like Valentino. So because of this, she found, or maybe not just because of that, I mean, like, who am I to say? But she fell in love with him, and she ended up giving him Valentino's ring. As soon as she gave him Valentino's ring, he dumped her, like, I think like 2 or 3 days after, because he had fallen in love with Carol Lombard. Now, Russ Columbo would go on to wear this ring, and on September 2nd, 1934, Russ Columbo went over to his photographer friend, Leaving Brown's house, and I guess he had an antique gun collection, and Levi or whatever was bringing the gun down to show Russ the antique gun, and the gun went off. It ricocheted off the dresser and hit Russ above the left eye and put him out. He was dead. And he was wearing the ring. In the crime scene photos, it shows that he was wearing the ring at the time. Upon the event of his death, his famous entertainer friend, Joe Casino, ended up inheriting the dead ring from his friend. And he believed that it was cursed. Now, Joe Casino was one of, I think, of all of these people that believed it the most, believed this ring was cursed. So when he inherited it, he did not wear it. He put it beyond in a glass case in his house and would not wear it. Meanwhile, Carol Lombard, 8 years after 8 years after Russ Columbo's death, she ended up dying tragically in a plane crash. So I don't know if like little pieces of energy can latch on. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, we all get attachments, right? So maybe a little piece of that energy from the curse latched onto her. But anyways, so Joe Casino's friends thought he was crazy for believing in the curse, and they talked him into putting the ring on, and he wore the ring. And within a week of him putting this ring on and him wearing the ring, he walked out and tragically got hit by a truck and died instantly on the scene. He was, oh no, yeah, so sad. So upon Joe's death, his brother, Del Casino, inherited the ring from Joe, okay? But unlike Joe, Del did not believe at all in the curse of the ring, and he wore that ring. He wore that ring, and nothing went wrong for him. His businesses were fine. He was fine. Nothing happened. Nothing happened to Del. In fact, he wore it kind of to show off, like, hey, there's no curse to this thing. He even lent it out to a Valentino impersonator, and nothing happened to the impersonator either. However, his home, Dell's home, was burglarized. And in this burglary, the burglar grabbed the ring. And as soon as he was fleeing the scene, police shot him dead. I mean, you kind of, I don't know. In 1938, they were going to make a kind of like a biopic of Rudolph Valentino, and they got this world class medalist in ice skating, Jack Dunn, to play him because he kind of looked like him and he was striking. And to go to the casting for the casting of the movie, Dell lended the Valentino ring to Jack Dunn, so Jack Dunn could get more into character or what have you. So he wore the ring and went and got casted for the part. I'm not sure. I couldn't find if he gave the ring back to Dell or if he was wearing it when this happened. But a couple of days later, after he found out he got the role, he went out on a hunting trip with a bunch of his friends and contracted some type of blood disease and died. Now, some people say he got it from the rabbit. He touched a rabbit, and that's how he got the blood disease. The blood disease is too... I'm gonna have to look at this because it's hard to Tulium Ramira. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. But he was only 21 when this happened, and it's so sad, so tragic that that happened to him. I mean, he gets a major role, you know, and all of a sudden, boom, he's dead. Was it the ring? After this occurrence, this is what made a believer out of Dell. Dell finally believed in the curse of the ring, and what he did is have it locked away in a bank in downtown Los Angeles so that he couldn't get hurt by it and nobody else could get affected by it. But that bank has seen its fair share of robberies, strikes, and other occurrences have gone on in that bank over the decades, like more than normal robberies. And even one particular robbery, a gangster, the heist went bad. A couple of his gang members were shot and he was arrested. And he said at his court trial, he said, if I would have known what was in that vault, I would have picked a different vault. So this just goes to show you how famous this cursed object was back in the day. I mean, news spread like wildfire. People were afraid of this ring. Some people were believing it, some people weren't. But it just goes to show you. And whether it was haunted or not, I think it still remains there even to this day. It remains in that bank vault. And then I've seen other things online where they don't know where it is, where nobody knows where it is now. So if you come across a gold tiger's eye ring, maybe err on the side of caution. But what do you guys think about haunted objects? Do you think that objects can get haunted? I know, personally, my husband found an old antique Singer sewing machine, you know, the ones where you have to put your foot on the pedal to move. It was being sold at an Amish store, and he picked it up, and when he brought it in the house, strange occurrences did happen, and I heard humming and singing. So I went and I saged that. I saged it, but yeah, I'm for one, I do believe that objects can be haunted. I do believe that things do emit and do retain certain energy. But as for the ring, I find it strikingly, it like strikes a chord within me because like Dell didn't have any problems himself, and he wore the ring because he adamantly believed that it was not cursed. And this just reiterates something that I tell people all the time. Nothing is cursed unless you let it be cursed. And what I mean by that is thoughts create your reality, and I totally believe that thoughts create your reality. And if you believe in something strong enough, then your mind, you're giving it that energy. You believe that you are giving it that energy. So if you give it that energy, it has more energy to do things against you. So when it comes to curses, I believe that you can't get cursed unless you allow yourself to be cursed. Because you have to sit there and say, yeah, I'm cursed. Or say, oh my God, yes, I'm cursed. It's easy to believe that you're cursed when lots of bad things happen. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you believe in the curse of the Valentino ring? Do you know any other haunted objects that you might want to hear me speak about? Or do you have a haunted object in your house that you might need to sage or get rid of? Or know of somebody who does? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for sticking with me during this very long, it was supposed to be a short, but it ended up being long. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please, until I upload the next video, be kind to yourselves and one another. Bye!